subscribe.
一体どんな手を使って
どんな手も何も俺は元から
登録していた。
Card Kaizoku.
This video is sponsored by gumgum.gg. Discover the latest OP10 deck lists on gumgum.gg, updated daily. Be the first to see decks for new leaders as they emerge. With over 1,000 deck lists per set, gumgum.gg has all the top strategies as soon as they drop. This video is sponsored by Card Market, Europe's largest online marketplace for trading card games. So I made a One Piece card game event calendar app. It'll show you current events, upcoming events, past events too. It'll show like registrations for events, the tournaments themselves, treasure cups and regionals and all that. So if this is something that you would find useful, you can access it via eventcalendar.cardkaizoku.com. I'll have the link on screen and in the description below. I made this for everyone's convenience, so hope you find it useful. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at what cards we're going to need to buy in preparation for OP10 releasing in a month, or I guess depending on when you're watching this video. But yeah, we're going to be taking a look at what we're going to need to build out the new leaders, and then additions to existing leaders that get some new OP10 support, and then we're just going to be taking a look at the price of a bunch of leaders that don't get anything new at all, just in case you're a new player and you want to know how much it costs to build out some of these decks. And up first is Pissed Kid, OP10 Kid. So Kid being a new leader means that a lot of the cards in the deck will also be new OP10 cards, so we don't know the prices of those cards yet. So like it's stuff like the leader, the Searcher Luffy, this 2k counter X Drake, the Hawkins, this promo law, which we're not even sure how we're gonna get this card actually. Uruj, and then the Cavendish, and then the secret rare of the set, and ACOS Kid as well. Right, that's like about half the deck. We don't know the price of the cards yet, but if you wanted to get everything else ready in preparation to build out this deck, you're gonna need Shirahoshi for sure. The list here shows 3, you can run it as 4. I think you don't want any less than 3 though, and they're about $22 each here. You're also gonna need Kikunojo. It's not essential, I don't think. It's just a nice card to have. It triggers out for free, but these are like less than $1 a piece. Satori's 2 are insanely cheap. Also the Nico Robinson OP10, and then Aces seem to be the most pricey card of the deck, right? 3 copies is $88, so they're about what, close to $30 each. And then yeah, Oh My God, about $2 to, if I can do math, 285, is that correct? And then the Blaze Slice here. So yeah, in preparation to build out OP10 Kid, it's going to be about $164 to get everything else besides the OP10 cards. You can see that total here. And this is using the lowest rarity version of each card, so making it a little easier on your guys' wallet here. Up next is Usopp. So Usopp, of course, himself is not available. Neither is the Leo, and then the 2k counter Sabo, and the Cavendish, and the Frankie, and the Zoro, and the Kairos, and the Rebecca. A lot of cards here. About just as much missing as the Kid deck. But what we have available that you want to buy to prepare for playing Usopp, you'll need these Rebeccas that are like a buck each, a little bit over a buck. EDOs are dirt cheap. The one-legged soldiers are dirt cheap. So is the Barto. Everything else, yeah, really cheap actually. You can run a one-of Luffy just to be cheeky. These are only like $3 if you happen to need one. King Kong gun is also really cheap. So is Red Rock, and then the stage. So honestly, yeah, it only costs $12 to buy the rest of this. And then if you're buying booster boxes of O10, you're gonna hit these cards anyway, right? The most highest rarity one is these two. They're both SRs. Maybe a little hard to get a full playset of both in that case, but I can't imagine them being too expensive to buy singles of anyway. So Usopp might be one of the cheapest decks, right? Because it's not having to run any like expensive cards like this Ace here. Then moving up to the next deck, we have Red Green Smoker. So a lot of the Smoker cards are old cards. The only thing that's new is like this Virgo, what else? The Sanji here, 2k counter Tashigi, and then the Chopper Blocker. These are kind of mandatory for the deck though. The Smoker too, of course the Smoker. I'm pretty sure this one might be the most expensive of the SRs in the set, because it's a pretty good card in any green deck. But other than that, the most expensive card in the deck is the ACOS Kid. He fluctuates in price when ACOS Kid is not meta. He's like dirt cheap, but now he's sitting at around like $7-8. A full playset of hoodies isn't too bad either, right? Just $10 for a full playset there. Oh yeah, you'll need the new event counter, but this will be dirt cheap too to get. It's a common. Bad Manners Kit course is $3, but you could change this out for the green one. What's it called again? Whoever wins the war becomes justice. This is like 43 cents, so if you want to save a couple bucks, that's one way to do it. And then 10 cost Doflamingo if you decide to run the version with Doflamingo. They're like less than $1 each. So for everything besides the OP10 cards, it's 62 bucks to get ready for this. Also another cheap investment, right? Usopp's 12, Smoker's 62. It just seems like Kid is the most expensive because of this ace, costing a bulk of this 164. And the Shirahoshis too. Those are insanely expensive. Up next we have Green Yellow Law. Also quite expensive to build out. A lot of the cards are OP10 cards too. But yeah, the Searcher Bonnies are quite expensive at 9 bucks for a full playset. And then yeah, the OP10 utility cards. These are going to be cheap. Alright, I can't imagine these being too high because they're all uncommons and commons. The Shigis are super rare. Rosinante playset. Oh, not a full playset, but like 3 copies. They're like $3 each. And then Cromwell will be dirt cheap. The Bonnies are like over $1. This Blocker Law is insanely cheap. What the heck? Oh, he was reprinted in Premium Booster 1, right? Is that why? He's like less than $1. Cavendish is insanely expensive. A full playset's gonna run you $103. And what else? It's just the ACOS kids too. Yeah, it's mainly just the Cavendish. 153 to build out what you need for Green Yellow Law, but he's not doing too hot in the East, so I don't expect him to do too hot in the West too. So could be a risky investment, but if you really like Law and you want to play the Green Yellow version of him, 153 to buy anything that is not out in OP10, and then it's gonna probably cost quite a bit to build out the full playset of this Secret Law too, so I don't know, this might be too expensive of a deck for how much it performs. And I believe that covers the new leaders. There's Caesar and Sugar too, but I don't think their decks are going to be worth building unless, but I don't think their decks are going to be worth building if competitive or like winning is on your list of priorities. They're more of like casual, bring to locals kind of decks. And I never like brewed this with them, so I don't have one on hand. We'll move on to some of the leaders that get new cards in OP10. So Blackbeard, if you want to build out the rest of his deck, is $46. Insanely cheap deck. The only new things you're going to need is if you want a few copies of the Shiryu, I think it's worth considering. It KOs a character with an original cost of 3, so you can't like cost increase something to prevent it from being KO'd by this Shiryu, and it's an activate main. And then of course this new 5-cost Kuzan is going to be like the biggest buff to this deck. It's the new SR for the set too. If Blackbeard does end up becoming super meta in the West like it did in the East, this card will be a pretty penny. But other than that, oh yeah, Liberation, the new 6-cost Liberation. This is just a rare though, I can't imagine this being too expensive. Everything else in the deck is quite cheap except for Finger Pistol. Finger Pistol is like what? Like a little bit over $8 each. But everything else in the deck for a full playset is under $1. That's insanely affordable. So it could be one of the cheapest meta decks around, right? To build it out, $46, you only need like 6 to 7 new cards for it. So consider Blackbeard if you're on a budget. So there's also Lim. Lim gets a new pair of legs in OP10. There's actually quite a bit of new cards in the deck. So there's this new 1-cost Lim that we don't know the price of yet. A 2k counter for the deck in this Nami. There's also this Newgate you can run, and then Enel, and this Mihawk as well. But of the existing cards that we can buy in preparation, Zoro is your most expensive card. It's a secret rare from OP06. Full playset's gonna cost you just about $100 for that. Usohachis are quite expensive too. It's a starter deck card from starter deck 18, the purple one. Full playset, this is gonna run you $30. And to be honest, you do kind of need the Zoros in this deck, so it might be a little bit expensive. Now, yeah, Lim did get a pretty big power boost, but she still wasn't too top meta, so invest in your own risk. She is definitely a lot better than she used to be. Right, I would consider her like a rogue deck at the moment. And yeah, it's $135 to build it out, with you needing to get 1 rare, 1 uncommon, and then these are also rares. So yeah, it would be pretty cheap to build out the rest of Lim if you already have these pieces. Up next we have Reiju. Reiju just gets 1 new card. It's this Searcher here. So if you want to build out the rest of the Reiju deck, it's only $33, and then Sanji himself is just a rare. So I can't imagine it being any more. Probably won't even be like $35 or anything. It's gonna be like maybe $1 more. So yeah, an insanely cheap deck that you can build out, and it is pretty good, right? It's also another rogue deck that could find you some success in tournaments. A lot of people don't know how to play against Reiju. Most expensive card in the deck is Black Maria. 4 copies is $17. That's like over half the value of the deck is 4 Black Marias, but you do need it, right? You want to play Black Maria to transition to like a judge turn if you need. The Porsche is being the next most expensive, 4 copies for $6. And then like the key cards of the deck, the Reiju and the ETGs, these aren't even worth too much. Reiju was reprinted in Premium Booster, so that could be why. She used to be a lot more expensive, but now she's like less than $1, like 50 cents each, which is pretty crazy. And ETG is like a quarter each. Then move on to Bonnie. Bonnie only also gets 1 new card. It's this 5-cost Smoker that we saw earlier. But I do think that this one's going to be a pretty penny, right? It's not going to be too cheap. So if you want to build out the rest of the Bonnie deck, lowest cost for everything is $202 here. And it's mostly because of the Cavendish. Cavendish makes up like half of that. But if you already got a full playset of Cavendish somehow, then you're good to go with Bonnie. The rest of it isn't too much more expensive. And then moving on to past leaders that get nothing new in OP10. So you'll know the price of these decks right off the bat. Purple Luffy is $278 if you want to run the premium version with the Mr. 2s. You could replace these with the vanillas. It would bring down the cost by a lot, but against Doflamingo, you kind of need this to ramp without having to take life, or else you're just way too low in life total. But if you wanted to see how much it costs with the vanilla Usopp, yeah, it brings down the cost quite a bit. It's $150 now, like almost half the price. Are there any other ways we can cut costs? No, you kind of need these Usopps. I guess the Sanji, you could cut it out for the Frankies instead. So let's just try to be as cheap as we can. Yeah, if you switch out 3 of the Sanjis for 3 for Nosuke's, it brings down the deck even more. What other ways can we save some money? No, you kind of need everything else. I would say that 126 is as cheap as you can go with this deck. Enel is also a deck that gets a new card in OP10. Just 2 though. This X-Drake and then this Damn Punk Electromagnetic Cannon event. This is a rare, this is a uncommon, so these will be dirt cheap. So the price of an Enel deck is pretty much set. It's $363. It's also it's quite expensive. It's one of the most expensive decks you could try to build out, and that is because the 4 of Aces and then the 4 of Katakuri and the 4 of Shirahoshi, these 3 cards here make up over half of the value of the deck. And then even then, like the mid-range cards like this Egghead Luffy and Nami, they aren't too cheap either. Full playset's like $20 to $30. But yeah, I don't know why are yellow cards so expensive. Like Shirahoshi, Katakuri, Ace, like yellow is never like the top meta deck, but their cards are the most expensive for some reason. But yeah, $363 to build out Enel, and then I'm sure Damn Punk and X-Drake gonna add like $1 or something to that. There's also Shanks. Shanks costs about $205 to build out. It's mainly because of this Silver's Rayleigh here being $135 for a full playset. I don't think he is substitutable in this deck, unfortunately. So yeah, if you want to play Shanks, you're gonna need to fork over the money for this. Everything else in the deck is not too crazy. The next most expensive is Dragon, 3 of for $22. And then the 10 cost Shanks himself, not too expensive. Everything else is dirt cheap. There's also Doflamingo. Doflamingo actually very cheap for how good he is, right? He's definitely a top meta deck, might even be considered the top meta, but it only costs $98 to build him out. The most expensive card being actually this Perona from OP01. 4 copies of this will run you, let me do the math here, like $5.25 and some change. I probably messed up the math, but around $5 each. And the Jinbeis too. Jinbei costs more than Perona. These are a little bit over $6, right? 6 times 4 is 24. That's the closest whole number. But everything else in the deck really low, right? Even these starter deck cards are like not even $1 for a full play set. So yeah, you could consider learning Doflamingo. It'll last you for quite a bit. It's still top meta in OP11. It's been meta since OP08, so yeah, a lot of mileage with this deck for this little investment. There's also Lucci, who got nothing new. The most expensive card in the deck being the Gecko Moria playset at about $20. Still really cheap though. Oh no, Rebecca costs more. Rebecca full playset's $25. So yeah, $195 for the total deck. Lucci gets nothing new. He's not going to change. And I do think this might be like the cheapest version of the deck too, right? Because some lists run more Sabos, but these days they only run 1. So that saves you some money there because each Sabo is like $15. Tempest Kick is $250. I gotta fix this. I coded this site, so I guess I could just move this like bar thing on the bottom or have a button to hide it, but I didn't code that yet. I'll code that later. Oh, how did I miss this? Brook is the most expensive card. He's like $27 each, right? For a total of $106 for a full playset. Sorry, Brook, I didn't see you in the corner there. But yeah, this will be the most expensive card, and it's a non-negotiable too. You kind of need it. There's also BY Luffy. His total deck is $169, which is quite cheap, or cheaper, right? We saw a lot of decks that were in the $200 range that weren't even complete yet. This is a complete deck for $169. Most expensive card being, yeah, the Sabos we saw. You do need 4 Sabos in this deck in particular. The Egghead Luffy also quite expensive, 4 of for $22. Then the Geckos at $20, and then Flambe's, full playset of Flambe is $23, but everything else in the deck is really cheap. But yeah, that is 14 deck lists in OP10 and what cards you're going to need to buy to build them out. So if you're looking to play something new, it looked like Usopp might be the cheapest one to just build out. Kid being the most expensive of the OP10 leaders, and then Red Green Smoker, not too bad either. And I would say Green Yellow Law is the one that's like the least worth it. right? His cards are expensive, but he doesn't do too well. Teach is also a really budget consideration because he's already under 50, and then the cards that he needs probably won't cost too much more. Well, depends on this Kuzan. This Kuzan might be quite expensive actually, but I can't imagine it breaking 100. Right, it's still going to be a sub $100 deck. Reiju as well. Reiju is going to be a sub $40 deck. These additions will not make her increase by much at all. And then if you want to be top meta, you want to be a Sweat Lord, just build that Blue Doflamingo. It's under $100. It's going to win you a lot of tournaments, win you a lot of locals. And yeah, that about wraps up my recommendations for OP10. I hope this video helped you if you haven't built out these decks yet and you wanted to pick out cards ahead of time just to have those decks ready once the set releases. I should also mention that these prices are as of February 24th, as of the morning. I'm recording this at night, so prices could fluctuate by the time that you're watching this video and buying cards yourself, so double check. But yeah, it'll be a general ballpark. I don't think it's going to change too much from now until then, unless like OP11 in Japan hypes up a card that we weren't expecting. That's the only kind of news that would change some of these prices. But other than that, it should remain stable going into OP10 for us. So let me know if this video was helpful for you, or if you have a friend that you want to get into the game and they just don't know how much it would cost to build out decks. I hope this video helped them. And this is coming from the mindset of somebody who's trying to spend as little as possible in this game. So I'm finding the cheapest version of each card. So I hope that is appreciated. Or maybe you guys like to bling out your decks and you don't care about these cheapest prices, the cheapest alt art, base art. But yeah, I guess that's it. Don't want to ramble and make it too long, so I'll cap it off there. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. Check out my other videos, and then bye.
Card D Kaizoku.